disciples, senior disciples of Srila Prabhupada in this movement. As you can see, everybody's getting older. Father Bhadra is here, but Maharaj still is going, traveling. I see his schedule, and I don't know how he does it. I couldn't do it. And of course, we know he's governing body commissioner, involved mostly with the difficult legal affairs. And still, he is taking time to speak to everyone and everywhere, and really fulfilling this mission of sannyas. And of course, taking on responsibility of one of the initiating spiritual masters with the ISKCON. His Holiness Romapada Maharaj Ki. So Maharaj, thank you for coming. And he'll speak to us today, and he has this slide presentation.
Yeah. Now some of you, we're going to sing a song that you don't know the words for because you're here for the first time.
Okay.
And Jai Radha Madhava, anyone here else doesn't know the words for Jai Radha Madhava? Everybody here knows. Let me ask another question. Does anybody need an introduction to Prahlad Maharaj? Just take a moment. The nice song, this nice song is a
I think we hear you very much. I'm trying to...
what's that?
Wow.
Jai Radha Madhava. These are just names of Krishna in Vrindavan. It's really simple. Jai Radha Madhava. Kunja Vihari. So it's this our custom in Hare Krishna movement to sing this song because standard Prabhupada would sing this song before giving class, not always, but standard, so here we are. We'll chant responsibly. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Jayo Vishnupad Paramahamsa. Hari Vedakacharya Astatara Satasi Simanis Divine Grace Sri Bhakti Vedanta Swami Sri Prabhupada Ki Jai. Gaur Bhakti Vrinda Ki Jai. I don't see Siki here. Balabhadra. It's 4:45. When do I get the hook? What time should I end?
5:30.
5:30? 5:30.
If you need longer, you can go.
We're thirsty for the next.
Okay. I like to keep schedules. Every now and then, sannyasis are concerned about schedules. I'm one of them. Now, this is going to take probably more than 45 minutes, especially because I'd like to open with two things, a little appreciation for one senior disciple of Srila Prabhupada who recently left his body, who was a very important person here in ISKCON Atlanta. Now, I didn't live in ISKCON Atlanta for any part of my journey in Krishna consciousness, but I can say this from an outsider. He's a celebrity, and he's celebrated for his very special qualities. I would say his dedication to our founder Acharya, which enables one to be steady in life of devotion, and we know from the teachings of Srimad Bhagavatam, it decorates such a person with good qualities, and among the good qualities that I know of him from little interaction and certainly from afar, perfect gentleman, very kind-hearted and caring, radiating happiness, very dedicated to the mission of our founder Acharya, a well-wisher of everyone, those who are superiors, those who are peers, those who are less experienced, very kind, affable, warm-hearted, genuine Vaishnava. And when such a Vaishnava departs our association, it's, even from a remote person, there's sadness and grief. Although I didn't associate with him much, I can only imagine for those of you that did, it's a big loss. But all of us are going to have to go at some point in time. And I'm sure you had celebrations and words of praise and appreciation for all the years and years and years and years of his service, the warmth that he gave to everyone, and may his soul reach Krishna sooner than some of the rest of us. So with that, the other introductory part I'd like to do is, especially for our guest who is not familiar with Prahlad Maharaj, how to give an introduction to Prahlad Maharaj. Well, one way to give an introduction to Prahlad Maharaj is according to this Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our principal authority, spiritual, scriptural authority. There are 12 personalities who, out of the whole history of mankind, are the greatest exemplars of spiritual life, and he's one of the 12. So he's way up there. And unusually, his father was at the other end of the spectrum. His father was well, we'll use the word demon because he was. He was a universal demon. He was a universal terrorist. He was mega bad. And his son was Prahlad. And Prahlad happened to be sometime after, obviously after he was conceived in womb as mother, but Hiranyakashipu went to the forest to engage in austerities while Prahlad's mother was pregnant. So Prahlad's mother was taken care of, there's details, taken care of by Narada Muni. Have you heard of Narada Muni? Yes, no, Narada Muni. Narada Muni is another one of the 12. And Muni means learned. So Narada Muni gave spiritual instructions to his mother while she was carrying a child in her womb. And although he was still in the womb, he heard everything, and he assimilated everything, and when he was born, he remembered everything. That was pretty unique. Remember what you hear when in the womb of your mother? He became an enlightened, perfected person from the get-go, from his very birth. And his father had affection, as fathers have a tendency to have affection, that was quickly broken. When he sat his son on his lap, because his son was sent to school, and he sat his son on his lap and asked his son, what's the best thing that you've learned in school? Or not, excuse me, what's the best thing that you learned from your teachers? So Prahlad was considering Narada Muni his teacher, not the other fellows. So he told his father what he heard from Narada Muni. And what he heard from Narada Muni is, the best thing that I've learned from my teacher, because he had 2 teachers, but he said my teacher, is the process of devotional service. And he said some other things also. But here's the verse, and many of you know the verse. So Canto 7, Chapter 5. Let's say the verse together, please. Shabadam kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam Adaseyanam Archanam Vandanam Dasyam Sakramadam Nivedanam. So there's 9 processes, starting with Shravanam, which means hearing. Kirtanam, we just had kirtan. Making sound, making voice messages about whom? About Vishnu. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu. That's the first 2 of the 9 processes of bhakti. And you do substantial Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, and something happens, and that's Smaranam. Smaranam, not just memorization, but Smaranam is the awakening of spiritual knowledge that's already within, but has been forgotten by material contamination and conditioning, and all those coverings. So, Shravanam Kirtanam clears away the coverings and clears away forgetfulness, and remembrance is restored. That's Smaranam. So that makes 3 out of 9 processes of bhakti. Because his message to his father is, the best thing is devotional service to Vishnu. Now his father considered Vishnu to be enemy number 1. And here's his son saying the best thing is to engage in service to Vishnu. And his father had a fit. So, go through the other 9, the other 5 of the, excuse me, 6 of the 9 processes. Pada Sevanam. Pada means feet, Sevana means service, serving the lotus feet of the Lord. Like Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, does for Narayana, so Pada Sevanam. And then Archana. On the altar there's deities, and that's one of the 9 processes of bhakti, is engaging in deity worship. Vandanam means offering prayers. Universal in all religious practices is Vandanam, offering prayers. Dasyam, that's a nice one, that's rendering service. Dasyam. You're a smiling dasa. You're a servant of Krishna, right? Trying to be. Dasyam. So that's one of the 9 processes of devotional service. And then Sakhyam is friendship, like Arjuna was Krishna's friend, Sakha. He is his bhakta, but also his Sakha. Bhaktosi me Sakha cheti. And then the final of these 9 processes is Atma Nivedana. That means dedication of everything. What's everything? One's body, one's mind, one's words. Everything. I possess nothing, everything belongs to the source of everything. And I dedicate all of that unto Vishnu. So there's the 9 processes of devotional service. Now the topic I wanted to speak about was, or is, in addition to these 9 processes, there's a very important ingredient, and that's the mood with which we do any one of them, or combination of them. And the phrase that I'm going to be using this evening is that we engage in devotional service from the heart. There are different ways of saying same thing, but I'm going to use that phrase, from the heart. I was in, before coming here, I was in Alachua. And in the audience one evening, the final evening, there were 3 people, like your good self, that knew nothing about nothing. They were totally new people. So I was describing to them who was Krishna. You know who's Krishna, right? Good. They didn't know who Krishna was. So I had to help them understand who Krishna was. He's that from which everything, the source of everything, matter and spirit, comes from Krishna. And one who understands that about Krishna engages in his service. Some of you know the following verse. We'll say it together. What's the verse? Where Krishna says that he's the source of everything. Aham sarvasya brahmo matak sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam gora bhava samamita. Krishna says, he's the source, from everything comes from me. I am the source of everything. This is forward and backwards. I am the source of everything. Everything comes from me. Checkmate. Those who understand this, iti matva, bhajante mam. This word bhajante has the same Sanskrit root as the word bhakti. So bhakti means that you do things for Krishna. Everything. There isn't something that you don't do for Krishna. If you can't do it for Krishna, you don't do it. And anything you do, you do it for Krishna. From the heart. So there are these 9 processes, but it's not mechanical. And that's nice. Oh yeah, so I was explaining to this new audience who Krishna is. I said one of the things that Krishna did is he taught Bhagavad Gita. You're a little familiar with Bhagavad Gita? Okay, good. The one way to describe Bhagavad Gita is, it's a treatise on yoga systems. And in the West, not just in the West, all over the world, when people hear the word yoga, they think of one thing. Asanas, sitting postures and that thing. So yoga studio teaches how to do all those things. And sometimes they also teach pranayama, sometimes. Generally they skip the first 2. The do and do not. They just pass over that. And teach asanas. That's yoga. But that's one part of an 8-fold yoga system. So he was describing quickly. They've heard of karma, so they knew what that is. Karma yoga, yoga of work. And part of the yoga of work is to become detached from the fruits of your work so that you can move on to yoga of knowledge, Gyan Yoga. And those who become a little accomplished in Gyan Yoga may become interested in mystic yoga, or this eightfold yoga system. But then the topmost yoga, and I asked, so what's the topmost yoga? And the fellow that had never been there before said, love. Fantastic. The yoga of love is Bhakti Yoga. But when there's love, you just tingle. I mean, you do something. You know, where there's a feeling of love, you render service to the object of love. So Bhakti Yoga is rendering loving service from the heart to the source of everything. And there's 9 processes, which we already discussed, but I want to focus on the from the heart part. Bhakti from the heart. So that's our evening together. In times, sometimes the heart becomes closed. And things feel murky, closed off in the world. You may know this. There's a negative emotion called loneliness. And it's so problematic in the UK. They have a ministry for loneliness or of loneliness. Because it's very costly. It costs the government a lot of money when people get stressed out due to a feeling of loneliness. So they made a whole ministry to help people from not feeling lonely. That's at the heart level. And they're missing, the solution is bhakti, but they have some other plan. Sometimes it's on the negative side, sometimes it's on the positive side. The heart feels vibrant, receptive, and insecure. And the world that we live in is very confusing and filled with duality. And there's always change. Whatever is at this moment is going to be something next moment. And not just the weather. You know, the circumstances of life keep changing. So how can we get to the stage? This is a nice question to ask yourself. How can we reach the stage where our heart is always soft and compassionately giving? This is bhakti from the heart. There it is. Bhakti unto Krishna. Because the teaching of the Vedas is the constitutional position of all living entities is to serve. Nasha, right? I'm picking on you. Because you're such a smiling, happy servant. But everyone is serving something or someone because it's our constitutional position. List the objects who we're serving our senses, serving our friends, serving our family, serving our nation, serving our country. We don't have a nice object to serve a dog. Maybe you know this. Maybe you don't know this. The Detroit Temple was a home that was owned by a man named Mr. Fisher. There was Henry Ford who built cars, and there's the man that designed the cars, and his name was Mr. Fisher. Mr. Fisher lived alone with a dog in this big house. And when he died, in his will, guess who received the house? And all of his resources, because he was a wealthy man, body by Fisher. Woof, woof. And then it just sat on the market because what do you do with it? It was in the will. So with some dealing this and that and the other thing, the Hare Krishna movement bought the house. And the two families pooled their resources to buy the house. One was the grandson of Henry Ford. Grandson or great-grandson?
Great-grandson.
Great-grandson, thank you. Great-grandson. And the female, I forget, what was her family connection?
Luther, Walter Luther, the labor.
Walter Luther.
So,
Does that mean, now, most of you from India, you don't know anything about, you know, that there was the automobile industry had a labor union, workers in the factories to build cars. And Walter Luther was the man that was like the leader of the workers union. And he had a daughter. And his daughter and the great-grandson of Henry Ford bought the house from the dog. I don't know how it worked. I don't know how you pay a dog for a house. The purple people looking after the estate. I don't know how it worked, but they bought the house. So if you don't have a clear object to serve, then it's not uncommon. It's not like the only thing that people serve, but serving a dog or a cat, or it's because every living entity on the spiritual platform is a servant, ultimately and originally servant of the Supreme, the source of everything. But if one doesn't know that what is and who is the source of everything, then you serve some other object or collection of objects. And it's just the nature of living entities. We serve. And when we direct that service to Krishna, that's Bhakti Yoga. So now we're going to speak a little bit about service from the heart. Continuous devotional service from the heart. That's Bhakti. Here's another nice verse many of you know. This is a definition of what Bhakti is. So it's on the screen. You can recite it with me simultaneously, but many of you know the verse without looking at it. Anukuyena Krishnanu Shilanam Bhaktir Uttama. Nice sounding verse. Here's the meaning. The highest bhakti is defined as continuous service or emotions, this is the from the heart part, directed towards Krishna. His expansion forms or others related to him with a pleasing attitude towards Krishna. Anukuyena Krishna Shiva. With a pleasing attitude towards Krishna. That is, service is for his pleasure. The object is defined, and the purpose in regard to the object is also defined. For his pleasure. It should be devoid of desires for other than the desire to please the Lord. That's the first part. And unobstructed by impersonal jnana, the materialistic rituals of karma, and other unfavorable acts. That's an interesting translation of the phrase. So here it's saying the same thing in images. That's what Bhakti is. Now we're going to see a bunch of hearts. And here is showing a bunch more hearts. There's Anyabhilashita Shunyam and Jnana Karma Dinavratam, Anukuyena Krishnanushilanam. There's the 9 processes of bhakti. This is how we began the class. Prahlad speaking this to his father, Hiranyakashipu, the 9 processes of bhakti. And there's a heart inside that heart. What's that? Krishna is the object of that service. And what's at the heart of Krishna is the object of that service. Anukuyena. Krishna is to be pleased. There's an intention in these 9 processes of bhakti. One thing, at the heart of the heart of the heart, is Krishna is to be pleased. And when if and when that is the way that you live your life, it becomes really easy to control the mind. We'll say it negatively. If you don't have that intention, it's really difficult to control the mind. I was sharing this out in the suburbs with some families gathering. On the flight that came from Florida, because that's where I was before here, to Atlanta, you know, you have to get on the plane train. So I got on the plane train. As I was getting on, this young American fellow said, looked at me and said, "Are you a monk?" I have a line I like to answer people when people say, "Are you a monk?" I didn't say it to this young man. I said, "It's not Halloween." Anyway, they said, "Yes, and not only that, I've been a monk for over 50 years. So then he wanted to know, I'm getting into Buddhism, and I'm hearing a lot about mindfulness. Do you have any tips you can tell me about mindfulness? So we got on the train, and the door closed, and I said a number of things. I said there are different techniques of mindfulness or meditation, but the most effective one is sound. He didn't nod, he just was taking it in. I said, just like in your Buddhist practice, they have a gong, right? And they hit the gong. Boom. And it helps you mindfulness. It clears your mind of other, because it's real powerful sound. And that's just a material sound. So what to speak of spiritual sound? Then what's spiritual sound? I said, you've heard the word mantra. He said, I've heard it, but I don't know, I don't know exactly what it is. So I'm just, sharing with you a little. We're riding on this plane train thing, and telling him how to do mindfulness. So there are different disciplines of mindfulness, but mantra is a sound that helps fix the mind, and for example, most effective amongst various sounds, other than your gong, is names of the Supreme. It's just like you're practicing, or if you're learning about Buddhism. So Buddha is the name of the Supreme. He is an incarnation of Krishna. And Krishna is the source of all incarnations. So mantras that have names of the Supreme within them, they're very, very special sound vibrations. So when you're doing your meditation, I recommend you find out about mantra and sound, and how sound can help you fix your mind in mindfulness. I said a few other things, which I'm not going to go into right now. But it's not just make a sound. We're all making sounds. And most of us, many of us, if not most of us, are regularly chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. And how many of us would like to raise our hand and saying, you know what? When I'm chanting the mantra, my mind is in mindfulness mode. My mind doesn't wander at all. Anybody want to volunteer and say that? So how do you get there? The answer is here. I mean, there's something else that's needed. In addition to, if you have this, then there's one thing that you can do. I mean, there's many things you can do. But something that will help you especially is hear the sound. Won't go into what we discussed because the clock is ticking and the bell at 5:30 is going to ring, and I'm going to have to close shop because I went on schedule. But if you hear the sound, if you don't hear the sound, it's real easy for the mind to go all over the place. The mouth can go, if you don't hear the sound, and the mind is all over the place. But if you hear the sound of the mantra, according to scripture and practical experience and the teachings of our predecessor acharyas, the mind becomes stunned. The ear conquers the mind. I can elaborate with some scriptural teachings, but it's a fact. And if you want to become proficient at yoga practice or mindfulness or bhakti yoga, what we're doing right now is, making some sound and hearing. And it's going to affect each one of us positively, but in different degrees. And it has everything to do with the attentiveness with hearing. And something drives attentiveness. And it's right at the center. Intention drives attention. I'll say it again. Intention drives attention. This is the month for book distribution, many of you know. I probably have a big plan here in Atlanta, and I'll just, rah-rah book distribution. Because I, like Charodeshna and Balabhadra and many other devotees, Sikhi, many other devotees, dedicated years and years and years and years and years, and then some more years, to book distribution, because it's what Prabhupada wanted. So one of our leaders in book distribution is Vaisheshika Prabhu, and he often says, and it's true, where attention goes, energy flows. It's cute. I'll say it again. Where attention goes, energy flows. Let's say it together. Where attention goes, energy flows. So he would want us to draw our attention to this is a time for book distribution, because where attention goes, energy flows. And then I've had some private discussion with him, and where intention goes, that's where attention goes, where energy flows. Intention drives attention, drives energy. Human life. It's a bhakti principle, and at the very heart of bhakti is the intention to please Krishna. So if you can cultivate the intention to please Krishna, you're at the heart of bhakti, and mission accomplished. I mean, it'll take time, of course, but mission accomplished. And refine it, and strengthen it. Make your intention to please Krishna, and exercise that bhakti muscle, and you become a very strong devotee. And you can help others become strong devotees, not just in book distribution, but in bhakti life, or any one of the 9 processes of bhakti. Small thing, subtle thing, powerful thing. That's at the heart of bhakti. Here's a very nice verse from Chaitanya Charitamrita. And let's say it together, it's Bengali. Nitya Siddha Krishna Priya Sadhya Bhagavan Shamanagi Shuddha Chitte Paraye. It means that within Nitya Siddha, at eternal perfection, Krishna Prema, that's love for Krishna, Sadhya, that's the goal of Krishna Bhakti. And what's the process? Shravana, Adi, beginning with Shravana. So we already said that 9 processes of Bhakti begins with Shravana, etc. Shravana, Adi. Shuddha, Chitte, makes the consciousness Shuddha, pure. It is said. So there's an inherent intention to please Krishna within the heart of every living entity. It's already there. The image is meant to show the evolution or the progressive stages of life according to Padma Purana. Darwin must have read Padma Purana. At least the idea of evolution comes from Padma Purana, because the soul moves and transmigrates from one species to the next species. Regardless of the species, the soul is in there, within the body of every living entity. And the soul is indwelling, and there's this vastu, according to Jaiva Dharma. This is the Nitya Dharma of the living entity. No, for not too many newer people here. Dharma, you familiar with that term? Dharma? Yeah, a little bit. So, Nitya Dharma is not just the Dharma of the body. Like there's Dharmas that in any religion, the do's and don'ts. Don't steal, don't lie. There's things of Dharma to do and to not do. And then there's of the soul, things of the body, the Dharma. The Dharma of a Brahmana, the Dharma of a Kshatriya, Vaishya, Sudra. There's characteristics or Dharma for each position of society. But then there's the Dharma of the soul. And this Dharma of the soul is to serve Krishna. The Dharma of the soul is to serve Krishna. There's a lot to say, but we're running out of time, so I'm going to keep moving. Therefore, connecting to the heart or engaging in service, which is our natural position to serve someone, to direct that service to Krishna from the heart. It means that's the real substance of each and every living entity, vastu. There's material vastu and there's spiritual vastu, material substance. And that's the living entity's nitya dharma, which is trying to please Krishna. So it's just connecting with who you are. Here's a quick one. Radio interview with Srila Prabhupada in the late 60s, 68, something like that, New York Post, radio interview. Swamiji, you came to this country, you must have come with a message. Would you like to share with us? What is that message? What is the goal of life? Prabhupada, know yourself. 2 words. Know yourself. Pause. Reporter, know yourself. Prabhupada, know yourself. Strong. Nitya Siddha, or Nitya Dharma. The constitutional living entity is to serve, but to serve Krishna, and to know who you really are. You're not going to say it positively or negatively. You're not going to find out who you are unless that tendency of who you are to be a servant of someone or something is directed to Krishna. Say it positively. If you want to know who you are, direct that tendency to serve towards Krishna. And then you'll know who you are. And otherwise you won't. And you can like putting on a set of clothes, you can put on some identity. This one, that one, in lifetime after lifetime. And you don't know where we're going after this lifetime, but we're going somewhere. And wherever that somewhere is, we're going to be serving because that's who we are. And to know who you are is to direct that tendency for service in a pleasing manner, with a desire to please Krishna, towards the object with a certain mood. Bhakti means Krishna becomes the object, Vishnu or Krishna. Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu, but with a desire to please. It makes all the difference between spiritual material or achieving the purpose of life, the goal of life. Here's another nice little statement. Executing the process of bhakti is to uncover that real substance, the who we really are, the nitya dharma substance, the seed of intention to please Krishna, and allow its natural life to flourish. So there's Krishna, there's a little plant, we want to nourish the plant. You give the plant some water, but there's a soul also within the plant, so you can benefit, just like those fortunate plants sitting on the back next to Prabhupada's Vyasasana. They're getting lots of spiritual benefit hearing the kirtans for who knows how many years. Great spiritual benefit goes to those plants. And when that intention to please Krishna does flourish, all material preconditions, I'm this or that or the other, socially, intellectually, economically, all of those circumstances are surpassed. And when doing so, it's beneficial to you and to anyone who you come in contact with. It's like that simple example of watering the root of a tree and then all the parts of the tree, leaf, branches, twigs, trunk, everything, you name it. Benefit goes just by watering the root. So bhakti is like that. And the emphasis here is, that's bhakti, and then there's bhakti with the intention to please Krishna. And when bhakti with the intention to please Krishna is the way that you learn to live your life, That's knowing who you are, and others also get the maximum benefit. And then everything that you do, everything you say, every step you take, everything, it becomes filled with that consciousness. It spreads like light spreads through space. So the consciousness of pleasing Krishna spreads into all aspects of your existence. Your relationships, your livelihood, your economic, your family, your community, your friends, your everything. That's how powerful the Bhakti process is. Nice little saying, just as a downpour of rain brings life to the awaiting earth, our practice of Bhakti becomes enlivened and enlivening to others. So we're just about to end. And the 5:30 bell is about to ring too. As Bhakti becomes enlivened, the inherent compassion within the heart becomes accessible. When communication is rooted in this compassion, it is truly empathic. I want to say so many things, but I've got a gag. So some of you may have heard of nonviolent communication. You've heard NVC, nonviolent communication. Marshall Rosenberg, he's now deceased, but he lived in the Southwest somewhere, Arizona, New Mexico area. And he had a school where he was teaching nonviolent communication. And nonviolent communication is Bhagavad Gita, chapter 17, verse 15. Speech in the mode of goodness. It's just, Bhagavad Gita in another language. So there's a way to live by that principle. And when you live by that principle, it becomes the natural state of empathy towards others, starting with one's own self. Real empathy towards oneself is to know who you are, instead of the la-la land of you don't know who you are and you're trying to be happy. And that's the world. It's very troubled. So as people become aware of who they are, they're also become aware of who others are on a spiritual plane, and have compassion for the fact that they're suffering. I wrote a whole Vyasa Puja offering one year on just one phrase, Sarve Sukhi No Bhavantu. Sarve Sukhi No Bhavantu is a phrase that Prabhupada repeated. Listen when you hear his recorded lectures, and you'll hear him say it again and again. Means everyone should be happy. He was compassionate. He understood people are suffering needlessly. So what was the fuel in his tank that kept him going and going and going and going and going and going? He wanted people should be happy, because Krishna wants them to be happy, but they're in la-la land trying to be happy in ways that they can't be happy. Trying to find water in a desert, thinking there's happiness out there. And it sounds harsh, but it's how people live. There's no happiness. Really? There's no happiness. Anyway, that's a whole topic. Compassion does not have a separate existence from bhakti, is the main point. Acts that bring pain to a dear one are not a sign of compassion or love. And I don't have time to tell this nice story. There's a nice story from Mahabharata, as you all know. On one side, that's Bhishma Dev. On the right side, there's Krishna and Arjuna. And Arjuna with his bow drawn, firing arrows at Bhishma, and Bhishma is firing arrows at Krishna. So this phrase comes from Brihat Bhagavatamrita. I'm going to do it anyways. I'm going to break the time barrier. There's a nice section in Brihat Bhagavatamrita Part 1 where Narada Muni is on a quest. He's searching for who is the greatest recipient of the mercy of the Lord. And he goes to this one, and he's saying, no, 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 go to that one. He goes to the thing, no, 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 go. These are my shortcomings, go to that one. So finally he goes to the Pandavas. And when he reaches the Pandavas, what are they doing? They're having a Pandava conference on how to have the next tribulation, calamity. Because whenever there's a calamity, Krishna comes. They want Krishna to come, so let's have a good calamity. Krishna comes. And Narada then invites oh, you Pandavas, you're the greatest recipients of the mercy of the Lord. And Arjuna speaks up on behalf of the Pandavas and says, no, no, no. And his way of saying no, no, no is this one. And he's referring to the scene that you see on the screen where Bhishma Dev, he speaks in a strong way. There's many ways to understand, there are many layers of understanding of what Bhishma is doing is giving pleasure to Krishna. Because when Bhishma's arrows were hitting the chest of Krishna, it was... And when Krishna picked up Arjuna's chariot and started ready to smash Bhishma Dev, because it looked like he was going to kill Arjuna, Bhishma dropped his bow, his weapons. Because what Bhishma wanted was have Krishna show that he holds protecting his devotee above his own word. And Kshatriyas won't break their word. But Krishna made Bhishma break his word. So I'll get him. I'll make him break his word. Anyway, so that's one level. And there's another level that is spoken in Brihad Bhagavatamrita. The 5:30 bell is ringing, so I have to hurry up. Bhishma was thinking, I have to keep my vow. I made a vow. With these 5 arrows I'll kill the Pandavas. Krishna tricked me. Now I have to destroy his dear friend Arjuna. Before the night falls, because battles would end when the sun set. Before the sun sets, either I will kill I will kill Arjuna, or Krishna is going to break his vow. So Arjuna is saying in Brihad Bhagavatamrita, his beloved grandfather Bhishma, he was stuck on the principle of Dharma, that there's a principle of Dharma that says, on the battlefield, Kshatriyas should be ready to kill even their father or other relatives, Mahabharata. And it's Manu Samhita. So I am a Kshatriya, and even this is my beloved Krishna, I'll kill him, because Kshatriyas will kill anyone. And Arjuna's thinking, he's become mad. Krishna, the wielder of Sudarshan Chakra, tolerated for my sake those repeated attacks of grandfather Bhishma. And when I remember that incident, it brings grief to my heart. And then, how can I feel? You come here, Narada, to praise me, oh, you're the greatest recipient of Krishna's mercy. How can I feel any happiness? Because acts that bring pain to a dear one are not a sign of compassion or love. Anyway, Bhakti from the heart. That's the subset of this little presentation. And I gotta go quickly. I'll read. When a person takes shelter of bhakti, mercy towards all living entities is a natural quality. Compassion does not have a separate existence from bhakti. The quality which, when offered to the Lord, is called bhakti or prema, becomes friendship, compassion, and indifference when directed towards other living beings. It is the feeling that is inherent in the eternal nature of the soul. In the spiritual realm, this quality manifests only as friendship, but in the material world it manifests as friendship towards devotees, mercy towards the innocent, and indifference towards the offenders. These are but different aspects of the same compassion. One more. This is from Bhakti. I'm reading from Bhakti Thakur's writing, by the way. In the conditioned state, that's us, by the way, this compassion is extremely stunted. It starts with affection for the individual body, then widens to include attachment for one's household, then to Varna, then to the countrymen, expanding it, may grow to include the human beings in the whole world. However, compassion becomes complete when directed towards all living entities. Patriotism is but a limited aspect of this sentiment in relation to a country. Philanthropy is compassion directed towards all humanity. However, Vaishnavas should not be limited by these mundane sentiments. They should have compassion for the complete range of living entities, not wanting to cause harm to any of them. So, Sarve Sukhino Bhavantu. Same, in short phrase. This is taken from Chaitanya Shikshamrita. And I don't know what I'm going to do to finish. The ability to stay connected to this heart space requires steadiness and our faith in practice. Here's some examples. Over on the right side for our guest, this is Romapada Maharaj again. He's in a pit of snakes. His father wanted to kill him. That was one of the ways he tried to kill him. Over on the left side is Raghunath Das, so absorbed in chanting the holy name, doesn't even notice that tiger has come to the same Radha Kund where he's drinking water and he's just absorbed in chanting. Queen Kunti, connected completely to Krishna. When there is a disconnect, we communicate from the platform of mind or intelligence in order to defend or satisfy our false ego as a broken heart. Here's a tree. When we feel loving shelter and protection in our relationship with Guru and Krishna, qualities such as tolerance, Trinadapi Sunichena Toror Ivasihishna, tolerance, it's in respect for others without expecting any in return will develop. You can do all these nice things if there's a place of shelter for you, and that's the bhakti from the heart. So this slide is going to show 3 times with different images in the back. Exhibiting these qualities will touch and transform the hearts of others in amazing and unexpected ways. Nice graphics, huh? Here's another one. Exhibiting these qualities will touch and transform the hearts of others in amazing and unexpected ways, just like Srila Prabhupada did. Just by his moving around planet Earth, he transformed hearts, even if people didn't know who he was, what he was. Certainly when he spoke, but just by his presence, he sanctified places. Exhibiting these qualities will touch and transform the hearts of others in amazing and unexpected ways. So that's beyond my time limit. And I don't know, do we want to invite people to ask a question or?
Does anyone have any question? I have a microphone. Take advantage of Maharaj. He comes just a couple times a year, so don't be shy. Who has a question? Are you going to stay a little?
There's Balabhadra. Balabhadra wants us something.
Thank you, Maharaj. Appreciate the enlightening discussion
And the plug for book distribution.
and reminding us of Charadeshna. So we talk about bhakti. So can someone from a different, quote-unquote, religious tradition, can they exhibit bhakti? in their
Yes.
practice?
I mean, excuse the tone. Yes, it requires the heart. The teachings may somewhat differ. The principles don't differ much. Is it possible? It's imperative for someone to be a genuine this or that or the other, from the heart to be engaged in service to the Supreme Person. Now, you may ask, who's the Supreme Person? You might get some silence on the other end, or something. So, clarity of who it is that they're serving is important. And our interest, I was going to say, our interest is not to change people's ism. Our interest is to increase bhakti. And is it possible from any tradition? Absolutely. Let's say it the other way. People who are actually doing that, they feel camaraderie with one another because bhakti principle is the prominent principle in their life. And it gets into the ascension thing. If they don't have that essence, the covering is the essence, instead of the essence is the essence. The rituals are the essence. You don't do our rituals, so there's something wrong with you. Do our rituals and you're okay. Or have the faith that we have. Anyway. And then we would say, let me hear following your own teachings. Anyway. And so bhakti requires all of that. There's another.
I just wanted to ask, the phrase Anukulyena Krishna Anushilana, is that correspond to intention?
Yes. 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 Anukulyena is the intention. Anu means following those perfected souls who do that. And Shila means the behavior or characteristics of Anukulyena. Anukul means accepting things favorable. Anukul. Anukulyasya sankalpa pratikulyasya. So Anukul means doing that which is pleasing to Krishna. Unto whom? Unto Krishna. Krishna Anushilana. That's the heart of intention.
Anyone else? I'll ask a question, Maharaj. Why does it seem to take so long or seem to be so difficult to come back to our natural position?
Oh. I'll answer this way. There's many ways to answer. Parampara knows there was a time when I was visiting in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Murfreesboro, Tennessee. And somebody was coming to the anti-Krishna's program. They said, oh, I want to have a home program in my home. We're over in Timbuktu, and if you'll come, I've already got 30 families that say they'll come. So can you come? Can you come? It's okay. But let me give you some advice. 30 families, half of them will show, and they'll come at time for prasadam. They say, oh no, they're friends, they'll come, they promised. I said, okay, let's see. And then they want me to do a one-on-one class, because it's all new people. So nobody showed, except, the families that were already practicing devotees. There was like 4 or 5 families, and they had all children. So I decided to do like this. Kids, sit up front, and I'm going to ask a question, and don't blurt out the answer, you got to raise your hand. Wait till I finish the question. And then immediately they're raising their hand before I can ask the question. Very enthusiastic. So I said, listen carefully, wait till the end. And so I'm a conditioned soul moving along the path of life, and I'm looking for happiness. And I'm trying it this way, trying it that way is not working. Take birth again, trying it this way, trying it that way is not working. Another lifetime, trying it this way, trying it that way is not working. And a little light goes on and says, you know what, it's not working. Now, the question is, Why isn't it just a simple thing, just do a U-turn and go back where you came from? They all raised their hand, and then I called on some of them, they didn't have anything to say, they just... And there was one very young girl right in the front, and so she just gently raised her hand, and I asked, okay, what would you like to provide as an answer? She said, the intelligence says I want to go back, but the mind says I want to enjoy. Okay. And then one other boy, a little older than her, she was really small, one older than her, he said, similar to the flesh is willing, but the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. He said, I just enjoy my independence. He was really blunt. I enjoy my independence too much. I can't just do a U-turn. I want to be independent. So there you are. And we're conditioned. We may, for some time, initial bhakti. We have some desire, but it's just, we do the U-turn program. The tendencies, vasanas are very strong. The tendencies resume. Even if you try to keep up, the intention. And especially if your intention isn't please Krishna, if the intention is, I want out of here, this place is crazy. It doesn't stick. It doesn't stick. No matter what you do, it doesn't stick, because tendency returns. I want to enjoy. The intelligence says, but then the senses said, I want to enjoy. That's what she said. And I'm too much attached to my independence. So, again and again, and again and again. So we have to leave those things behind. Not easy, because that's our life. We identify with that happiness is the happiness of the senses, meet sense objects, and say Haribol, or yummy, or something. It's very strong. How many lifetimes you've been at that program? It's a very strong tendency. Okay. So we're going to end. Can we end? That's it.
His Holiness Romapada Swami Ki!